Russia holds presidential elections. A look at how Putin's government has changed the country and its impact on the church. Russia elects a new president this week. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Martin. George Thomas is on assignment.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Russia's constitution forbids current President Vladimir Putin from seeking another term.
Well, now he's set to become prime minister, where he'll continue to oversee the changes he's begun in Russian society.
In the 8 years since Vladimir Putin took office, Russia has seen dramatic changes. Economic growth spurred by oil and gas revenues has put billions into government coffers and given Moscow a facelift. For most city dwellers, living standards have improved, and the country now boasts 53 billionaires.
8 years ago, the salaries were delayed for months, pensions were not paid for years, and that's not the case anymore. Russians live much better than 8 years ago.
But underneath the surface, Russia still has massive social problems. Poverty and drug and alcohol abuse are devastating families, and tens of thousands of homeless children live on the streets. Politically, the country is less free than 8 years ago. The Kremlin controls the media and stifles political opposition, sometimes with force. The government is also cracking down on foreign NGOs that promote democracy and religious groups who help the poor. Human Rights Watch says that as far as freedom is concerned, the country has gone backwards.
What we've seen under President Putin is the systematic rollback of democratic freedoms.
But among the Russian population, Putin is extremely popular. They see him as a strong leader who restored Russia to global prominence, and they approve of the fact that he'll continue to rule the country from the prime minister's seat.
And Sergei Rakuba is director of Russian Ministries, a U.S.-based group that supports and trains church leaders in the former Soviet Union. He joined me in our studio recently to talk about religious freedom and the future of the church in Russia. Sergei, I was in Russia in the early 90s, right after the fall of the Soviet Union and the fall of communism, and it seemed like there was so much freedom, even more than America, to spread the gospel. Is there still that kind of freedom there?
Lots of things have changed since 1992, 1994. Economy has improved a lot. People live better. A new generation is there. There are new threats to the new generation. And there is a kind of spiritual wilderness, I should say, in terms of, that young generation has a lot less interest in Christian values.
Is the society still open to foreign missionaries coming over?
The society, unfortunately, due to the current politics of the government, unfortunately, that is not as much as open as used to be to the Ministry of Foreign NGOs. And as of recently, the new regulation is out there to even restrict the Ministry of all foreign missionaries and foreign NGOs.
Well, what about the Russian churches themselves? Are they facing new restrictions?
Yeah, there are lots of restrictions, of course. They're not allowed to go to schools like they used to be to teach the gospel, to witness to children, to help them, because the Orthodox Church of Russia is trying to monopolize this religious activity because they claim that Russia belongs to the Orthodox Church, as vice versa. And evangelicals are experiencing lots of difficulties in this regard. However, there is still lots of opportunity for those who are active, evangelical, next generation leaders. That's what Russian Ministries is doing, to train them to go out and change their communities for Christ.
Why would you say there are so many restrictions on the evangelicals now?
Of course, the current government is very much careful about evangelical or foreign evangelical NGOs bringing influence to their country, because the society believes that because of the Orange Revolution in Ukraine that was supported by foreign funds, or Rose Revolution in Georgia, which is all near Russia. So the Russian government is a little concerned about that evangelical NGOs might do the same thing in Russia, although I personally don't support this idea, because as a missionary I believe that NGOs are out there to help the society, to help to raise children and young people.
How can Christians in the West help our brothers and sisters in the Russian church?
You know, the Russian evangelical church is used to all kind of persecutions, you know, and together with Orthodox brothers, I should say, they went through the great persecution of 30s, 40s, and 50s. And today, those who brought faithfulness into the next generation, those who remember the hard persecution, they say that evangelical church under persecution is getting more faithful, more kind of active, you know, in terms of following the values of biblical teaching. So I would encourage all our brothers and sisters here in the West to continue praying for the next generation of evangelical church leaders in Russia and to help them to have enough wisdom and resources to continue leading the church into the future in Russia.
Do you see revival coming to Russia at any point?
You see, all in God's hands, and I believe, you know, that God who brought perestroika to Russia, who is in charge today with the current government in Moscow, God can do anything, and we have to be faithful to follow His command. And His command is to go out and reach your neighbor for Him.
Amen. Well, for more information about Russian ministries and the church in Russia, you can visit our website, cwnews.org.